On Sunday, November 27th of 1921, Herbert and George Jack. Herbert is 41 years old. His son George is 8 years old. They had gone to a spot known as Gay's Corner, and that is in the Brisbane River, and that is in Queensland, Australia. Herbert and a friend of his were going to take their two young sons fishing. So they go to the Brisbane River, and it's all muddy. It's in the morning, and the water is murky and muddy. You can't see in the water. His boat is just 5 meters from shore, 5 yards from shore, real close to shore. It's in knee-deep water. Herbert takes and puts his son George on his back and starts walking out to the boat. Before he gets there, a shark comes up and attacks his leg. Most likely a bull shark. The Brisbane is known for bull sharks in that area. Doesn't sound like a large shark, not very large, and I don't even know if the shark is large enough that it would go into our stats, but we have it in our stats, so it's there. But the shark came up and attacked Herbert, grabbed him by the leg, so he was bitten in the hip and in the buttocks, and his buttocks needed sewing up after this attack. And it even bit him in the arm, so he was trying to fight the shark off. So it sounds, he fought the shark off successfully, and the shark came back, and it hit him again, bumping him in the leg, which knocked George off of Herbert's shoulder. Now, his 8-year-old son just fell into the water and disappears. And they never find his son at all. That shark took him and disappeared with him, which is what makes me think it's a 6-foot or over shark. 8-year-old boy is pretty big even to, take away in knee-deep water without anybody noticing. You're probably a pretty large shark. I would say 6 feet, maybe a little bit larger. But Herbert gets to shore, and like I said, he ends up with the bite wound to the hip. They needed to sew up his buttocks, and then they ended up cleaning out his arm. So it sounds like he had teeth, scratching on the arm, or cuts into the arm that weren't deep enough that they needed to sew up. However those happened, they did not need to suture anything except for his buttocks. And the longest cut there was 5 inches. Not a very big cut for a big shark, let's say. That's what makes me wonder what size the shark was. They never did identify what shark or what size shark grabbed a hold of Herbert first and then took away his son. They never did locate George's body, unfortunately, so he ends up an attack, a fatality, and consumed, predation. And his dad is an attack and an attempt to predate. So both of them are an attempt to predate. The son, unfortunately, is taken away by the shark, so he's a predation. And that's how we got to have this down, or how we should have this down. I have to check and make sure that I have Herbert, the dad, down as an attempt to predate, because the shark was going to try to take him away if it could. That's what it was trying to do at first. It probably didn't even know the kid was on his shoulders to fall into the water in the first place. The newspapers did report shortly after the attack that the father had passed away too, but that wasn't the case. They had to quickly put out a correction that the father was actually doing much better as far as health. I mean, mentally, geez, how do you live with something like that? So it reminds me of Teresa Maneri. That was over in Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea has some terrible attacks, but that's where the dad was bumped in the leg and dropped the daughter, and the 9-month-old was taken by the sharks. So that's our attack on Herbert and George Jack.